hustlers. I can't go out like a buster. Come from a family full of hustlers. I did it song
for us, this podcast. We have a really special guest today. My boy, my big dog, Big EJ. Introduce yourself, man. We've been. This like I said, this has been a long overdue podcast. Like he's supposed to have been on here, dog.
Word, man, for real. I appreciate y'all having me out, though. Because I mean, like I say, it's always about trying to build people up, and anytime I can find an opportunity to talk about something, even with the crew, man, I appreciate y'all just taking out the time to be out here. You know what I mean? I know I've known Eric for a long time, and I think it's just a better time than now just to go ahead and discuss some things community-wise and some things we can do as young entrepreneurs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, man. So although we've known each other for a while, but we've never like really went in depth on like your story, like your background,
right,
and like exactly how you got into this entrepreneurship space. So like,
right,
what was the beginning point of your journey to like hop into entrepreneurship?
Man, you brought me back to.
Yeah, we never actually talked about. I don't do all people's business. I don't be in people's business, so I just like.
Yeah, bro. Dealing with just a family of entrepreneurs, man, that motivated me. But my family is from Jersey City, New Jersey.
Yeah.
And my grandfather actually owned several bars. He owned several bars in Jersey City. And that motivated me as a young kid.
Mm-hmm.
So every time I take a trip to see my grandparents, I never got a chance to actually be in the bars, but I know that he was managing them.
Yeah.
That was his bread and butter. And so and then he had 5 kids, and so he was able to still maintain for his 5 kids. That motivated me from my mom's side. From my dad's side, there's also a big family aspect too, but a very big entrepreneur aspect. My other grandfather on my dad's side, my dad's pops, he owned. He had several businesses. Also, he worked several jobs. You know what I mean? And so he was a heavy grinder. His thought process was, what can I pass down, and what can't I pass down? He worked for very, very large corporations, but I mean, he couldn't pass those down to my pop.
Absolutely.
That wasn't a part of the legacy he wanted to leave. And so for me, growing up, my dad was a dermatologist. My mom was a teacher for 35 years. That ability to captivate and encourage others to do more, I feel like was a big feeling in myself and my brother. You know what I mean? Because my mom being a teacher, I honestly feel like teachers are so underpaid. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man. I couldn't agree more.
Like the thing about teachers is they do help you, get to a certain level that can at least give you the opportunity to own a business or start something. As far as getting into a trade or skill set. But for me, my dad going in and being a dermatologist and then having several businesses as well, kind of encouraged me in my early 20s to want to be able to start, branching out and getting into that kind of line of work. But I couldn't think of it as a line of work. I had to think of it as a legacy, something I could build a foundation of. You know what I mean? Because if I think of it as a line of work, then that's just my mindset talking, and I have to continue to force myself to do it. I got to treat it like a job, But early coming in, I was very heavy into just networking and trying to meet new people. Because going into school, graduating high school, they pressure you heavily to try to get into college.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, for sure.
My guidance counselor said I didn't have the grades to make a 4-year college. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like,
did you have bad grades or?
So like my grades, I was a B and C student. I would get an A
That's me all
occasionally.
day.
You know what I mean? But deep down, I was a nerd, man. I just didn't have good grades.
Right.
I didn't like homework.
Right.
I was a good test taker, but I didn't like homework. You know what I mean? And so for me, my guidance counselor was like, look, Mr. Gill, Eric, I don't think that this is something that, you may be good for a tech school. I'm like, man, or even trade school. So,
He actually said that to you?
Man, yeah. I'll never forget it, bro. I'll never forget it. He let me know, like, clear as day. Like, I think that it's best do not go to a 4-year school. And so for me, that took college out of my whole mindset. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I did still attend, different colleges, to try to go ahead and learn different skill sets. So I started with journalism, because I was actually in the newspaper staff in high school.
Right.
And from there, my passion was in writing and publication, but ain't nobody getting paid from
I was gonna say
papers
that
nowadays.
nobody gets paid for
mean?
writing anymore unless it's like your own entity or something.
And so my drive wasn't more so like what's gonna pay me more than like what's gonna really make me money, pay out a lot more, but what's gonna make me happy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What's gonna make me happy, but also pay me a lot more too. You know what I mean? But so going into journalism and understanding that, I did pick up a job from the Charlotte Business Journal. That was kind of my open door to the journalism field and that niche. And how I got there was not because of school. I got there because I knew somebody who was a manager.
Networking.
Right. So I say that to say networking is a lot bigger of an influence for me than all of my college credits. You know what I mean?
Do you think your ability to network is something that you just kind of picked up naturally, or?
I do think so. Only because, man, like I don't meet a stranger. You know what I mean? Like I'll literally go to somebody, and if I see a like mind or something similar we have in common, I'm gonna vocalize it. Like hey, I'm reading that book too. Or I followed that person too. I heard you talking about.
You born and raised in Rock Hill, right?
I was born and raised in Rock Hill.
That's why.
Yeah.
Cause like people from like small towns are like extra friendly. Like really.
Yeah, I'm like from a
really
very small town, and even much smaller than Rock Hill.
And I'm not, so like you can see the differences.
Right. I have a lot of friends that come down from up north, and they're like a little shocked about how forward and just happy we are. We'll speak to you. Hey, how you doing, man?
Well, I'm from you walk past people, you don't even say nothing, right?
Southern hospitality.
Oh yeah, and so my family who who are in New Jersey, I mean, it's like that,
Yeah.
You go and talk to them like, hey, whoa, I don't know you like that. But that's how I was able to connect and network, and it's not just going to different events or going to different business outings, but just being able to like find the right people who have the same like mind. And then somebody came to me with an opportunity to have a partnership in an e-commerce.
Like an e-commerce store online?
Yeah.
And was this your very first step into like the business world? Like, okay, you taking the jump to actually start something for yourself?
It wasn't the first. It was like the second opportunity. The first opportunity was me doing some things for different publications. So I would actually go out and work towards doing like freelance beat work, you know, for different publications. You know what I mean? So that was like one of the first endeavors I wanted to go into business-wise for myself. Still don't feel like that was something that I really, really loved doing because I wasn't making no bread doing that. You know?
At the end of the day, you gotta get paid.
Right. And so during that process, going through relationships, going through bad breakups, I can say the lowest point in that entrepreneurial journey was rent being due. Not really having good discord, having discord with my girl. Working 2 jobs, being laid off from the Business Journal, and then going into doing different things as well. From going into banking with Wells Fargo, where I actually did loan processing, and that was like, being a robot, you know what I mean? But then that process made me think, okay, something's got to shake. I don't think this is gonna, I don't want to do this for another year.
E-commerce was what you.
Yeah, so that was kind of my thought, and so I went into to slowly get into understanding what e-commerce was, how the process is going to start for me.
And for those out there who don't know what e-commerce is, how would you explain that? Do you mind explaining to our audience?
So e-commerce is generally it's having a online store or having any kind of drop shipping or online store with a product. So if you generally have whatever your product is, whether it be a clothing line, whether it be rugs, whether it be any kind of product you can actually retail online. You can, ideally have a license to sell that with your online store.
Right. Nice.
Where that then takes inventory. You got to have certain things in place. You got to have your retail license. You got to be able to do certain things that's going to help you, get the ball rolling. Because people start it and it doesn't.
Most people fall off.
And it falls off because a lot of things in the very beginning aren't in place.
What's your first product choice?
Yeah, what was that first product? I was wondering. That was my next question. What was the first product?
So my first product choice was actually going to be, it was started off as rugs. It was like the welcome mats. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was like welcome mats.
Super niche though.
Yeah,
right?
you know what I mean.
Okay.
It was very unique designed welcome mats. And so you go to Walmart, people are gonna want to try to look. That's one of the first things they do when they get ready to buy a house or get an apartment. And so why don't I start that up? And so my thing was trying to look into the need, trying to find a need in different demographics in different areas,
Work your way backwards.
Right,
How you
right.
build it. Yeah.
But I just feel like the biggest thing with going into business, even with e-commerce, is who you're in partnership with,
Yeah.
I feel like that's what business in general, bro.
Yeah.
E-commerce.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's so key because whoever you're in partnership with, that communication, that integrity, all of it has to be like close knit, because if it's not, then it could hurt. It could hurt the entire brand. It could hurt the entire movement. You know what I mean? And that's what happened. And so although I appreciate and am grateful for the process, and I'm gonna get back into it pretty soon. But I just think that was a learning process for me, being a young kid in my early 20s. Maybe I need to think about planning it out a little bit better. Maybe I have to make sure that I do more homework on the people I get in business with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta get screwed.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
And sometimes you just got
Right.
You can cross all your T's and dot all your I's, and sometimes it still happens.
So since then, how are you with building business partnerships?
I'm great, man.
Or how do you judge incoming potential partners now?
Because I don't want to say it's a vetting process, but then again, it has to be.
Yeah.
You gotta go through the trenches together.
Yeah, you got to go through the trenches, man. Because if you don't know what it's like to take a loss in a certain way, then I feel like you don't quite know my pain, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. And I want you to be able to feed off of me and not just be a yes man. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I want you to give me
bring some value to the table.
Yeah, I don't want every idea that I have you to just agree to. I want you to disagree sometimes. To help me kind of see it in perspective. You know what I mean?
Iron.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it, man. Is I want to be able to be careful on who I sign that dotted line with. Because once you do, then a sense of comfortability comes up. Where they feel like, okay, I'm in,
Right.
Now I can chill a little bit,
Right.
and not do no work. But now, man, I feel like
Right.
there's a fine line between employment and entrepreneurship, or even partnership, and just being a part of the team. Partnership is so much of a bigger responsibility. It's a bigger commitment.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You can't have an employee mindset.
Right.
And be a partner.
Right. You know what I mean? I think that was key. And so then somebody, a big time investor came after that process was getting ready to conclude, maybe about a year or so later. Somebody came to me and was like, hey man, I got this big opportunity, man, where you could possibly make a whole bunch of money in the Forex market, trading.
Right.
That's how they hit you.
I said, man, send me some
Hey,
information,
brother.
man. Hey, exactly. Hey, brother. Hey, brother, let's build.
Hey, brother, let's drop.
You know what I mean? That's kind of how it is, man. So he hit me up. He actually was working at Wells at the time. So it was really not a lot of things he could tell me, because, there's a difference being a retail trader, which I am, than being an institutional trader.
Okay, explain the difference between those two.
So being a retail trader in any market, you can have free game to trade anytime you want, anything you want. in any way you want. Meaning like there's no restrictions, so to speak, in the market for you, but also you have to still keep consistent, keep your numbers. You know, you're not obligated to trade a specific thing. Whereas if you trade for an institution, then you got to have a certain capital to start with. You know, you got to have a certain leverage. You got to have a certain criteria you have to meet within your own progress. You can't draw down a certain percentage. You know what I mean? Like, or you're gone. You know what I mean?
Right.
But so although institutional traders are locked in, maybe even have a base pay in the process, whereas a retail trader is 100% like a 100% commission job. You know, it's all your money. You know, you got to put in the work.
Right.
You know. So that's the biggest difference. So the person who was hitting me up was institutional trader, and he could only tell me but so much for insider trader reasons. You know what I mean? Because he had the inside scoop on certain things, and so couldn't give me all the game. You know what I mean? But he kind of still opened the door to help me understand what it is. So nowadays, people could post on Facebook talking about it. Back then, I had to hear from the man on the street what trading was. You know what I mean?
Right.
What year was this?
This was 2011. This was actually 2011. You know?
Yeah.
So back then, all these other companies wasn't out, you know? Or they weren't public like they were, you know? Because like actively trading in the market, in the foreign exchange market, didn't start hitting, like you couldn't do it through your cell phone, through like MetaTrader 4, since like, you know, 2001. So I think that was when they really first started the one-click trading opportunity. You know what I mean? But I thought about it and I said, you know, I'll consider it. I don't know if that's really my niche because, you know, I'm still getting out of the e-commerce, was in the writing niche for a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's my speed right now. So, you know, send me some information, you know, send me an email and I'll read it over, you know. So like I used to see everything through my email. I said, you know, just send it through my email and I'll review it and check it out. But when I saw it and when I saw the potential, I still didn't quite know what it meant. You know, it's not something we weren't taught in, you know, government econ in high school. We weren't taught about forex trading.
I never heard of it until I got grown.
You know what I mean?
I was like, this is after I graduated college, like probably like 2012, 2013.
Right.
Yeah, I was like maybe 18, 19.
Yeah,
I heard of it.
Yeah, man. Man, I'm telling you, man, I got a lot to say about this, about the forex market, bro, because I've seen so much going on right now.
Right.
But see, the thing about it is, I had to learn it through somebody who was very hush on talking about it.
Yeah, like he was kind of like long hands.
Right. And so like I had to do my own due diligence. You know, so I would research. You know, I Google. You know, I mean, another thing, a lot of people can literally go through a full certification from the University of Google and YouTube. You know what I mean? Like you can literally find anything out.
You can find anything now.
You know what I mean? And so I researched it, checked out a little bit of detail on it, and for me, I went and hit him back up and said, okay, you know, walk me through it. You know, the best you can, walk me through the process, and I gotta see it hands-on. It's gotta make sense for me. You know, make it make sense for me, and I'll make it my own. You know, and so through that process of practicing and going through the motions of trading demo, you know, getting on the live account, crashing it like 6 or 7 times, you know what I mean? And blowing my account. I had to think about it as those 2 years process of me learning how to trade was literally me trying to figure out the language. And so nowadays, every single person I talk to about trading, I started like that. You know, the same way you learn how to speak Spanish, Italian, French, the same way you should learn how to trade forex. You know,
what do you mean?
Meaning, I don't have to take a class to know what Hola Como Esta means. I've seen it, heard it enough. I've gone through the process of, you know, if I'm around it enough, it's going to make more sense to me. So in the investing world, I feel like the more you're around the conversation, the easier it's going to, you know, pick up and register. And so, you know.
You're right about that. So you said you heard about Forex 2011.
Right.
It's 2020. So how long did it take you to actually like grasp the market? Because I know you took some losses.
Oh, bro, man, let's talk about them. So, man, I would say a good solid 2.5 years process from 2011 to 2013, you know, going through just understanding my own emotions. Because trading, it's perceived as a get-rich-quick scheme or a money grab, but it's a personal development skill set. Like I learned a lot about myself. Like I'm where I'm at right now because of forex trading. I'm be real. Like, I learned a lot about myself in the process. To be a consistent trader, I had to learn how to stomach losses, bounce back. I had to learn about timing, decision making, trust my instincts, not being greedy.
Right.
All those are life skills. You know what I mean? If I can harness those things, it can be a lot easier for me in the long run. So like me just going top heavy on, I gotta make some money today. I gotta make a profit.
Right.
That's gonna put me in an emotional state that I'm not ready for, and I'm gonna take a loss. And so for me, that was my biggest Achilles heel was greed. Every trade I probably took was profitable until I held it too long.
Right.
Or I just didn't do enough of analysis to see the bigger picture. You know what I mean? Or I take this buy on gold not knowing that there's a big event getting ready to happen or a big speech from the Federal Reserve,
right.
And that may be a big impact. Like, I'm just not looking at the whole spectrum, And I think, and anybody listening right now, like anybody who's trying to get into Forex trading, you have to understand the who, what, when, where, why, and how. Because if you don't, and you start getting signals from people, joining people blindly, it's gonna hurt in the long run. You're gonna think it's a scam, but it's really not, because it's the largest market on the planet. But I do feel like it's a science. And so if you understand the science of like trading, as it's an emotional skill set, like that'll make you a better person. So like it literally built me up personally. You know what I mean?
True.
But the losses is what I had to learn. The losses was a lesson. Every loss I took, I had to get a journal, and write down everything that I was struggling with. If I trade a pair and it wasn't working the right way, I had to go back and back test and say, okay, why didn't it work that time? It's literally patterns. Like life is patterns. There's behavior patterns. Like bullish. There's an uptrend, bearish. There's a downtrend. There's always different patterns of our life that happen the same way. So if we can literally decipher, pick up these patterns, that's why I say it's a language. Because if I'm fluent in Spanish, I'm going to be able to register and pick up on it, clear as day from somebody speaking it fluent,
right?
Or if it's somebody's native language. But trading wise, if I see a chart now, I'll be able to decipher. Okay, that's what that is. That's that pattern, or I can recognize certain movement. So the idea of a trader is to take the previous market behavior and then make a strong analysis on what should happen in the future,
right?
Or what should happen, in the next movement, like a sequential movement. And so I think it's just people don't think about these things, man. People post on Facebook, they profit, don't show they loss, and then go through and try to ask me how all day long. It's crazy, man. And so I just feel like my approach has always been different, and that's why I've always kept a rep that was different. You know what I mean? And because whenever I talk to people, the first thing I tell them is trading is very much like the NBA. I'm gonna play all 82 games. I'm gonna play all 82, but I ain't gonna go 82-0. You know what I mean?
Right.
I just want to be above 500.
Yeah.
To be profitable.
Right.
That's the biggest thing, man. But it's all about numbers, and so that helped me through that 2-year process of learning it, learning myself. 9 years in the mix. Now I'm grateful, man, because it helped me as a business person. So I feel like any entrepreneur out there who is considering Forex trading, don't go into it as just a source of income, but as an enhancement, because you should want to know what your economy is doing. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It shouldn't be just a source of income, man. Like, I think that should just be a benefit, but the market itself, again, we weren't taught this in school. This should have been a part of the curriculum, but I just feel like it's big, man. I can talk about it all day long, man. And
like
the
in the
issues
early
going
beginning,
on now.
What are some of those issues you would say now? Because I feel like it's a lot of I feel like the misconceptions surrounding Forex, like it being clouded with the conception of the misconception of being like a get rich quick scheme.
Right.
Yeah.
It's making a lot of people like lose a lot of money and get like let into these companies and kind of get finessed by all these different people.
Right.
How does one guard against that? Like why is that issue even has been created?
The biggest issue is trusting somebody you may be close to or following on Facebook, man. There's a lot of Facebook investors, man. A lot of Facebook millionaires. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean?
False profit.
Yeah. If somebody posts something on Facebook, buy this or invest in that or I just traded this, they're gonna be inclined to want to look into that and then make their own decision on it rather than like actually thoroughly doing the process of researching it first. I would first say that in anything you invest, be willing to lose it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you can't afford it, don't invest it. You know what I mean? But I would say, go into it with a completely emotionless mindset. Set it up to get it kind of thing. Yeah. Right. You got to have a serious trader psychology or an investor psychology to do that. But the issue with people in trading now is claims. Everybody's making claims about you can make this to that in a certain amount of days.
100,000, 6 months, let them tell it.
Right. And then when you don't deliver on that, then that issue then comes up as a, scammer. You know what I mean? And that makes it harder. And I don't understand that thought process of the people making that post, because, why would you put yourself on Front Street like that if it's all good for you anyway? You know what I mean? Like, if you're living it.
If you already eating like that.
Yeah, and so, like, I just don't understand that, man. So that's one issue. Another issue is the action of people doing that, like, managing accounts is a very risky business. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta have qualifications to do something like that.
Yeah, me and you talked about that, and I was not to cut you off. Yeah, I was wondering, like, if you're a profitable trader, right, and you're making however much you're making, but you're profitable consistently for a certain amount of years. Why in the world would you want to manage somebody else's account if you don't have to? Like, it's an unnecessary risk. I always wondered that.
Well, I will look at it as this. If I was a successful trader, right, there's those I think they're called CAM counts or whatever, right? Where you can like take it. I can take my own trade and then trade everyone else's account out.
You like PAM?
The PAM count. I would definitely do that as a successful trader, because like I'm just like 5 times in my money almost, like I'm taking the same trades, off, because I'm typically they take like 40 to 50% of all of their profits, So shit, I would.
Yeah, I mean, because
I kind of just want like to paint a picture a little bit, like, cause like as someone who's been trading for like 9 years, you know what it takes to become a successful trader. Right. Just to paint a picture to our audience, man. Like if you can give me a stat, what would you say the percentage of people who don't make it in Forex?
Woo! That's a large percent. So I would say it's above 95% or more. It's about 97%.
95?
I said like 97%.
95.
Yeah, like
95.
Yeah, it's like a very, very large percent of the people who don't stick with it, who have that mentality that it's a fast money move, when it's really supposed to be the long game. You know what I mean? People are trying to get, in the traditional investing world, you are grateful to get 8 or 10% increase in that month. Yeah. Let alone in the next few months. You know what I mean?
Real estate 14%.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And so when you're making a yield in the Forex market, trading as a day trader, your yield is much higher because you're leveraging much more. You know what I mean? And so now you make that yield and profit, you post it. Now somebody says, okay, I want that. How do I do that? And so I think another issue is people lazy showing certain processes. You know what I mean? They're not really going through the steps to really help people understand it, other than like these other programs, And so like, if I go into this program with somebody who's not really a good trader too, how am I going to be encouraged to learn trading too? But going back to managing accounts, I can understand it, but then I can't understand it. You know what I mean? Because if you got enough capital to manage accounts, start up a firm. Start a firm and be an institutional trader, and then bring other institutional traders in then with you. You know what I mean? But if you do have a PAM account, then you can do that as a copier. But then again, it has to have another, you got to go through the track record, and you have to have a certain series licensing to be able to do it, which is not a problem. It's just people don't go through those steps. You know what I mean? And so it's just tougher, man, because managing accounts is a bigger animal, but has still enough potential. I just think people shouldn't be promoting it in the social media world as the way it is perceived.
Yeah, seriously, man, because it's really getting a lot of people burnt out here.
Right.
Do you have an educational aspect of your Forex company or your Forex business?
So I have a group, man, that's called Black Wall Street.
Nice.
And so we've been.
Facebook?
It's on Facebook, but also through Telegram, which is going to be completely next and made through Facebook. So is
it like a paid membership type of deal? Like how?
It was, and so I was actually doing a 8-week session. Which currently I'm doing the 5th week of the 8-week session now. And so in those sessions, I'm literally going from beginning to end of the Forex market. You know, before you should place a trade, you should know what a pip is. How do you, read the exchange rate? How do you locate a pip? You know, how do you calculate it? Like, understand the math, the who, what, when, where, why, and how, And so, like, before you get into a trade, you should know certain things before you get in the market. You know what I mean? So it's literally an 8-week series. And so right now, it's been going great. And I've been doing it for, about a few years now, going through the process, man. And it's been very helpful for others. But I would say, in comparison to other companies, I wanted to still be in the process of just helping them who have little to no information to at least be proficient enough to go through and understand the process too. Because a lot of people are getting burned.
Yeah, man.
And are paying high ticket to get burned. You know what I mean? But yeah, Black Wall Street has been not just a Forex movement, but just entrepreneur movement. You know what I mean? So like we'll come on campus and meet as well and go through different ideas. There's other, real estate investors, real estate agents who are trying to build their clientele, so they use Forex to just learn the process. You know what I mean? But it's been great, man. I am going to be getting out of the teaching side because because
it's stressful,
bro. I put so much time
right
into helping people understand this repetitively.
I've sent so many people to you,
bro. Hey, but you know what? And they've been helped, man. Like they've been helped big time.
Yeah, a lot of them have, but a lot of them just, I don't know.
You know how the people don't be taking advantage of those opportunities.
Yeah.
Well, it's not even that. I feel like people underestimate how much work it takes to be good at something.
Right.
Then they see you killing it. Hey, man, I want to do this. I want to trade Forex. Ain't like, oh, I gotta put some work in. Damn.
That's one of the first questions I get. Is how long it's gonna take for me to get this? Because
rent due.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Rent due on the first.
Yeah.
We're gonna get the job.
Because you know what? I have to. That's my responsibility, and that's what I feel like is a tall order. Is I have to show you from what took me 2.5 years to get and grasp, to help them in a matter of 6 to 12 months. You know what I mean?
And like you explained earlier, man, like the psychological advancement, like the enhancement overall, like the personal development aspect of becoming a good Forex trader, you're not going to get that in 8 weeks.
Right.
You can get how to like trade,
get the
how to learn how to
terminology,
how to get the patterns down, but like
and then
to
after
conquer
that,
to conquer yourself and your psychology, your greed, that you got to work through that yourself.
Because you know what, I've seen people that do like 5-day, the whole day's course. I'm like,
crash course.
How do you do a crash course in a week? You know
how
what I
you
mean?
conquer greed in a week?
Right.
That's so like that's why, and sort
or
of
fear.
Yeah, the reason why
indecision.
I don't do it in such a short period of time is because, that short is because it's very top heavy. There's so much information that can put you on overload. You know what I mean? That I can lose somebody quick. You know,
that's why I feel like just managing other accounts would be.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't got time to teach you, but you got 20 racks. Bro.
Right.
Yeah.
These racks.
Right.
Do you manage any accounts now?
I don't, man. I don't. I've considered it.
Right.
I've
I'm like,
considered it.
If you want a test running, I know a couple of brothers, man. That might be interested.
Yeah. Because for real. Yeah. Because I mean,
bro.
I know what I'm saying.
For real, bro.
Hey, I mean, for real.
Seriously.
I have considered it though. I really have considered it, man. So that's something in the back of my mind, like
you can test run with us. We're like super, like none off. Like you say, you say what you do, what you gotta do.
I know y'all are already emotionless investors, man. Like investors,
oh,
like
man,
y'all put up racks, man, and just let it sit and
for sure, bro.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the thing, man.
Sure.
I think a lot of people are going into it for the wrong reasons, man.
They're trying to get monthly pullouts.
Right, they're trying to get the high returns early.
Yeah, I think the thing is like we were talking about, like social media is such a microwave platform. So people see stacks of money, they see the Bugattis, they see Maseratis, even though they might be rented, don't matter how they got them.
Yeah.
You see that perception, and it makes you like, they doing what? They trading Forex? How long does it take me to get it?
They don't put thought into it, like the work. They're like, yo, they see EJ, being a successful trader. They don't see EJ's been doing this shit since 2011.
Right.
Almost a decade. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I mean? I think that's the thing, man. And that's why I always turn it back to a language, man. Like, I'm fluent now. But back then, I was like, how do I calculate this pip again? How do I calculate the exchange rate? But even now, like, there's people who've been trading, making good money, great money, that's been trading for 5 years, still can't do that. You know what I mean? But and still kind of trying to figure out, like, why are there holes in my progress? You know what I mean? But I think that's all it is, man, is people who trade Forex, they treat it as a profession. They treat it as something like I have to do. Like me personally, bro, And bros, I don't trade every day. You know, I don't trade. I don't trade all day. I don't trade every day. You know what I mean? I only trade in the high volume days. You know what I mean? I only trade in the high volume times of the day. You know, which is the morning London session. You know, if I am in a trade longer than the day, it's going to be during midweek. You know, and so I never want to trap myself.
You never want to hold a trade over the weekend.
Right. That's the thing about it, man. Like I know my own personal limitations of what I want to get through. You know what I mean? That's helped me and kept me consistent. Like a lot of people now, that may be helpful for other people viewing in. I don't have a dollar figure goal. You know what I mean? People want to make $100, $1,000 a day. A PIP goal, but also I have a percentage goal.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
I feel like I'm more inclined to do better emotionally, in my emotional state, on 5 to 10%, 2 to 5% a day.
Yeah.
Consistently for 30, 90 days. Rather than trying to get $100 a day, $1,000 a day for that amount of time.
Right.
Like emotionally, I'm attached to that dollar figure. You know what I mean? And that percentage goal, I can still calculate that. That's gonna be a bigger leverage as my capital grows. You know what I mean? So you know what I mean? Like that's another big issue with a lot of traders is not thinking about what my progression should be like. They're thinking of the now. They're not thinking about the long game. You know what I mean? And so I think that's another thing, man. Telling y'all, bro, I could talk about Forex all day long, man.
For the trades you take, do you have a specific trade criteria that you're like, all right, my trade got to hit this requirement, this requirement, this requirement, then I take it. If anything falls,
man, bro, that's big, man, because I have a full qualification. I qualify my trade. So before I get into a trade, I trade off of supply and demand. So there's something called order blocks in the market. And usually the market is set up
order blocks.
Yeah, it's called order blocks. Where if you hit a certain point in the market that's getting ready to create a structure, or you know the head and shoulders, double top, double bottom. Those are set up as order blocks in the market. So the market makers, who are also called liquidity providers as well for different brokers, they're not trading necessarily against us. More than they're also trading with us, but they're trading in the market the same way. I want to still understand the supply and demand of how market makers think too. You know what I mean? So as a trader, I want to think like the big banks. So I want to think as a market maker. You know,
trade aligned with them.
Right. And so when I see certain structures hit, when I see certain areas of supply and demand hit from previous markets and previous data, I'm going to catch that. So okay, my first qualification is this a supply zone? Will this be an order block pretty soon where I can find a structure? That's going to be off of a higher time frame view. So I may see the daily, weekly view, you know, to see the overall scope of the picture. But because I'm a more short-term trader, I'm going to not work my way down to see the more detailed view. So I'm going to qualify that trade. Okay, cool. I see an opportunity. I see a certain zone being hit. So now I'm going to go through my process of working my way down to see if I see certain structures forming, certain patterns getting ready to hit, so I can translate that language or the view of what the market makers could be doing. Right. So now I may work on a trading tool like, if I see a harmonic, I may do the XABCD pattern to see the harmonic, or I may see the Fibonacci retracement tool to see a reversal zone to better do confluence and better my chances of finding an opportunity. Then I'll go in and say, okay, it's what time of the day is it? Is this the best time to be trading this pair at this time? You know what I mean? Like I want to trade the pair that's respective of that time. You know what I mean? So like if I'm trading GBP, JPY, or GU, I want to trade that during London. You know what I mean? I don't want to be trading that in the evening time. Right. You know, so like that opportunity is going to be compatible to that time of the day too. You know what I mean? So usually the stars align, and I can find an opportunity. But that at least narrows down my view of what should I be looking for right now, rather than trying to be a jack of all trades and a master of nothing. I'm at least shortening down my list of what should be qualified. And then, as far as my entry, because I don't really too much use indicators. I don't really use indicators like that. Like my trading is completely naked, you know. And so once I see a good opportunity to get ready to form, I'll finalize my movement either by seeing the smaller rejection of that zone from specific movement, but I gotta see all the stars align within the news. So I will go into different news sources. All of these things take about 10 minutes. My whole process, my vetting process for the markup, is at least 10 to 15 minutes. You know what I mean? To at least do my homework, because I don't want to just, I don't want to be somebody who just makes a trade and doesn't see some big news getting ready to hit.
Right.
You
So
know?
10 to 15 minutes, and you're able to place a trade.
Right.
Or decide if you want to place a trade or not.
Right.
Mm.
I'll plan it out because if I see a pattern hit, I'm gonna research a little bit. Okay, what articles are going on with EU right now or GU, you know, or what's going on with gold right now, or if I trade a stock index, you know, like NAS 100 or US 30, you know, what's my qualification for that movement, you know? So I may look at a news source like Bloomberg or Reuters or my FX book or something like that to help with my process, you know. But I gotta literally go by that process to see and check my boxes. Right. You know. But yeah, man, I feel like that is very, very because there's so many strategies in trading. You know what I mean? Whether you use indicators, oscillators, or just trade naked, there's so many strategies. You know what I mean? But the one that's careful for me and comfortable for me is, you know, doing naked trading. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So anybody out there who's looking for books or looking for certain content to start with, there's Trading in the Zone by Mark Douglas.
I have that book.
Me too.
Yeah. Then there's also Naked Forex by Alex Equity. Yeah, that's good. Those are two good books to start with. You know, a lot of people start with Baby Pips. You know what I mean?
It's a good source.
You know, it's a pretty good source. You know what I mean? I would say, you know, there's a lot of YouTube sources that are great, but sometimes can be very vague.
I seen Baby Pips.
Very vague, yeah.
Yeah, you know. I mean, that's the thing, man. And then Baby Pips has a great criterion curriculum. I would just say, man, as long as you go into it as a language, it's going to really just be easier, you know. That's how I got to think about it, you know.
Yeah.
But how can I translate it? You know, that's really my thought. How can I translate this? You know, what's happening next? You know.
I mean, so other than Forex, like what other type of entrepreneurial adventures or endeavors you got?
Man,
playing Forex, man.
you know, y'all currently sitting in my neck of the woods right now, man. So you know, I kind of took you on a tour a little bit, and
we're in the heart of Rock Hill right
now.
Yeah.
So you know, as a facility, you know, and as a campus.
Well, tell them a little bit about where we're at. Right?
We had a historical place.
So
you gotta break it down.
So you're currently you know, we're currently in a Black historical marker. This was St. Anne's Catholic School, St. Anne's Parochial School, back in the 1950s. So back in 1957, there were 5 black kids who were admitted into St. Anne's Catholic School. After those 5 kids were admitted, then there were another 15 that were added. So this was the first integrated school in the state of South Carolina. And so not a lot of people know that, you know. But I think it's because of St. Anne's, a lot of people just said, oh, okay, that's another St. Anne's school, you know. But this was actually, you know, brought into that history. So now, since after that process, this was also a girls' home back then. After the girls' home was moved and relocated to a different location, my pop said, okay, you know, let's look for a location for the family. Let's look for a family location. And my dad, who was a pastor, he went from like an 800 square foot building to this
compound,
compound, you know, and that's literally what it is. Because y'all know coming in that when you drive by, you just see that the sanctuary, you see that house on the side, but you got to literally come into the compound that's fenced in to see the entire property. You know what I mean?
It's huge.
It's a couple acres big, man. But it helped. That also motivated me because we've been here 14 years. You know what I mean? But everything that they've done motivated my grind. That's why I absolutely love the brand Family Full of Hustlers. You know what I mean? Because all the wealth, the generational wealth, that's where it should start, man. Like everybody talks about generational curses,
right?
But it can be remedied by generational wealth,
right?
You know what I mean?
The family themselves, the household themselves,
right? Yeah. You know, and I feel like that's so huge, man. And so I was telling y'all earlier, everything that we do here has the Gailliard name attached to it. So anybody, you know, my grandma, you know, who turned 25 today, you know what I mean? you know, she's still working, man. She's still you know, working on campus doing different things, man. But anybody who has this last name, man, we are big in the community and big on this property, man. So there's a lot more that we want to do here. So that the more things that we want to do is very soon we're going to be setting up and registering the house on the side as an incubation space. It's already set up as commercial.
Okay.
And so we're going to be getting some things regulated to with the fire marshal to make it useful as an incubation space. Anybody,
What would be
anybody, whether it be
like
a barber or makeup artist or a photographer or somebody who it's literally
like office space.
It's office space, so it could be even meetup space. Anybody who needs meeting space, you know what I mean? So it's literally set up as when you walk in, there's the lobby area in the house, was like the administrative area. Then you take that turn, there's the kitchen. When you come back in, there's literally a hallway with 4 rooms and 4 rooms of nothing but space of people who can, have that open to different businesses. You know what I mean? So it's bigger than it looks from the outside looking in, but that's the start. That's the start. So as a family, we're working on that now.
Right.
That's one of our biggest moves.
Being that we're in Rock Hill.
Yeah.
So you know where you at.
Yeah.
So how is it dealing with the city? Like because you have a public historical marketing right here. So how's it actually dealing with the city and different restrictions or things like that?
We've always kept a close relationship with city officials because getting the property, we had to go through the board of directors. You know what I mean? And so dealing with the city itself has not been a struggle other than with the issue that's been going on in all of Rock Hill with utilities. You know what I mean? Rock Hill Utilities itself has been a big issue for smaller residential properties. You know what I mean? We've seen residential properties that have had $1,000 utility bills. You know what I mean? That's a citywide issue. So you can just imagine what our utility. Remember I told you about the utility?
Yeah.
We had a $5,000 utility bill. Bro. Yeah.
5 bands.
5 bands, bro. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so we had
London sessions.
Right, you know what I mean? Hey, so I said, let me
a lot
get
of
in there.
picks, boy.
And so the thing about that is, that's been an ongoing issue. But I also feel like, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, but I feel like that's something that could definitely tie into a little bit on what's going on with the integration of the Carolina Panthers. You know what I mean? So the Panthers are now currently headquartered in Rock Hill. And so a lot of their deal, their very large $2 billion deal, has to do with the utility increase. From what we're told, it's going to.
You think they're like funneling some of their power that they're using off to the citizens?
I do think so, but then there's also things that we don't have public access to that I think that they're also getting set for, whether it be tax reasons. But I know the city of Rock Hill itself offered in majority of its tax dollars to the Panthers.
Right.
And so that then puts a strain on the small business owner in Rock Hill. You know what I mean? For upkeep, it's tough. So you can imagine a facility like this having issues with those kind of problems. But y'all walked the property, man, and y'all seen certain things that can be done with it too.
Right.
And so we have projects in line to go ahead and get these things set. I was talking to Eric a little bit earlier, about a week ago. Was about a few days ago about the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah.
We're potentially looking to a partnership with them, where that's a pretty large organization.
Very big.
And they will, be able to be a big benefit for us as well. But I do know with the city, we've always kept a good relationship with city officials, with the mayor. We've never had any issues other than just that with utilities. I guess you could say authoritative or law enforcement wise, we always kept a good relationship with our Chief Watts. There can still be more things that can be done in the city as far as protection, but I just feel like there's a lot of room for Rock Hill to grow community wise.
Do you have any plans specifically for the community?
Yeah, so we have been planning community cleanups.
Okay.
And so we're going to start with community cleanups. And because there's a lot of gentrified areas in Rock Hill, we want to still go and attend to some of those places that are really needing a lot of work done in those areas, And so I was sitting down with somebody yesterday that was also bringing up the idea, not necessarily defunding, because that's a very, very aggressive word. But I guess you could say reallocating funds into different areas. You know what I mean? And so like a lot of that is what we're wanting to do in Rock Hill, is like reallocating funds that can be needed for other uses. You know what I mean? And so like we want to start with things here as far as just being a beacon to help the city, because we are in the heart of the city. You know what I mean? So we want to be able to do things to let people know that we're actually doing something. Remember, I was telling y'all that Rocket could be crabs in a barrel.
Right,
We
right.
want to see people doing something.
Absolutely.
Like I actually played. So to let y'all know, my old teammates were, and I've known him since I was 6 years old. Stephon Gilmore, and also Jadeveon Clowney. So Stephon Gilmore is the cornerback for the New England Patriots.
Okay.
And Jadeveon Clowney is the linebacker for the Seattle Seahawks.
You play football?
Yeah.
I'm trying to imagine you on the field.
Hey man, just imagine,
cracking, bro.
just imagine
Cracking.
a 5 foot nothing cornerback. I played defense, man. So I was cracking heads, man. But but I was cornerback, man. I played DB for the South Point Stallions. You know what I mean? So I was in their first class. So I graduated in 2008.
Nice.
You know what I mean? But so Stephon graduated in 09. Clowney graduated in 2012. But now people want to kind of see what they're doing and what are they going to do for the city. But I really do feel like there's a lot that we can do as a community and not just wait on the big investors, multi-million dollar people.
Right.
You know what I mean? I feel like people waiting on a savior.
Yeah.
When we can really just
People
do things
always are
ourselves.
like relying on like celebrities or like public figures
Right.
to like give back when this is your hood. You know?
Yeah, you know what I mean. And then when we bring that,
like religion,
Yeah.
that's because of religion.
yeah,
We
and
have
then,
that savior complex.
yeah,
Yeah.
because when we bring that up, then they be like, man, nah, man, we ain't even got the money to be doing that.
We ain't got the money.
Crowd fund.
Right.
You know what I mean? But then it's just, man, I think again, it's the crabs in the barrel mentality, man. If you're making big money, you should be doing something in the city. But no, I mean, I just think that's something that we have to get out of our
Right.
mindset. You know what I mean? So like our big plan, even with people we partner with, is going back to like why it's not for people we do partner with. You know, being careful is, how do we go about keeping our integrity and still just going hard no matter what with certain things that we do. Because, if we start to reallocate certain funds, if we start to do certain things in the city, why isn't it being done now? Like, it's almost like if it's not broke, don't fix it kind of deal right now in Rock Hill. You know what I mean? And so they're gonna look at us like, well, who are you? Are you well informed? And what makes you think that we need these funds allocated to a certain area? Well, utilities is high. Like why are they so high? What are things that we can do to help the homeless? Like there's a lot of homeless shelters, not like Charlotte, or like other major metropolitan areas, but Rock Hill still has its fair share of homeless people. You know what I mean? So.
Any your last name is pronounced Gailliard?
Yeah, it's Gailliard.
Any Gaillards that are like in like public office here locally?
They're
like,
not, man.
Any politicians?
There's no politicians.
I'm guessing you next.
I mean, I'm not trying to be too deep in politics.
Yeah.
I feel you, man.
Because
I want to do it.
I'm not, politics really is not my speed, man, because I just know that there needs to be something done and there needs to be action done in the community. But I do feel like with politics, there's always a catch. There's always something you got to do to stay in good graces with officials and when you're in politics.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to sell myself. Like, that's one thing I won't do. You know what I mean? Like, I ain't going to sell myself or sell out for, for my name. I feel like a lot of people do that in politics.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I mean, but considering your family has history here, your name is already solid.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and I feel like local politics is a lot different than like presidential, like big shit.
Definitely different.
Because I don't really believe in like voting the big parties.
Yeah,
the
it's
big
like
ballots.
it's a stage.
But I do feel like state and local is very important.
Yeah, I agree. And even if we don't, even though we're not like the very front pedestal people who actually go through and put our names out there, we can still do a lot of heavy work behind the scenes, and we've been doing that. We've been really good behind the scenes. I do feel like just us as a property and as a family organization, we could do so much more. And so as the Panthers come in, we're starting to be a lot more aggressive now. Because once they come in, they're in, and I can imagine things are going to start changing big time. You know what I mean? And so as they do the construction and infrastructure, we want to try to galvanize people to be a part of something a lot bigger because the Panthers are going to do it. The Panthers going to do it, but for a price. You know what I mean? You know, I can go for days about the National Football League and them being a nonprofit and things like that, or
that's crazy.
Right? You know what I mean?
Pull that off.
Yeah, and so I just think that us as a community, because there's y'all been down this street.
Yeah.
There's a few houses down that are going for 165, 170. And
pull up.
And so, yeah, you know what I mean. And so, whereas there's a Section 8 area, like a couple houses down. You know what I mean? Kind of weird how that works, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I just feel like there's so many things that can be done as a city, but it's just up to us as a people to want that. I can say this all day long, and then people say, "Oh man, you're just a trader, man. You doing good already, bro." Nah, but it's not me. I'm trying to at least help people understand that there's so much more than just this city. Like people trying to get out the city.
Right.
But and I think that that's cool too. But if you're here, at least do some good along with it and help build it back up.
The way I see it is, if you live in a particular community and it's small and things like that, do what you can to help build it.
Right.
That don't mean you can't see the world. Like you can still do both.
Right.
Because that's the question I get big time, man. Me and my brother, like, and I got a younger brother. His name is Terrell, and so he's
the man.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
Maybe it's not Terrell.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. But so. And he's a big time entrepreneur too, man. He's big on digital marketing and different things, man. But we're always asked, what would we do if we moved out, or kind of, why would you like what's your process like who's gonna run the campus or something? When everybody's gone, or when you fell out of town or move out the country or something like that, like what's gonna come with the campus? I'm like, it could still be here. We can still operate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like, we're not pastors. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I think that's kind of what we also, and my pop also accepts too. How certain pastors will go through and be like, oh, well, I want you to kind of follow my footsteps and be the pastor. Nah. Pop said, look, I'm glad you're an entrepreneur, and that's another thing, man. Another thing that motivated me that I should have brought up earlier was motivation for me for trading was my dad, because he, that's how him and my mom met. My dad worked on the trading floor of the New York Stock Exchange.
Cool.
You know what I mean?
How you forget that?
Right, that's mad dope, bro.
Said that at the beginning.
Bro,
man.
You was getting there conceived on the trading floor, bro.
I know, man. So, my mom was an administrative assistant, and my dad was on the trading floor for the New York Stock Exchange. And both my uncles on my mom's side worked on the stock exchange alongside them. So I was like, I should have brought that up earlier.
Right.
But yeah, that was one of my main motivations too, man. I think that going into the Forex market was a bigger animal than stocks, and so that helped me. That motivated me too. But my pop knows that he doesn't just want me to be in the ministry. He wants me to just, find my passion and just go hard in it. You know what I mean?
That's more or less. Just give it how you support. That's all you really be needing, dog.
Yeah. And that's the thing, man. Cause like me and my brother, me and Terrell, man, we both have different drives, man. My brother's really strong with spoken word, man. But he's a big entrepreneur. He got a big business mindset. But he's really, really powerful with spoken word, man. And so he knows that he's not going to be in the ministry, but he's going to be a big player in that niche that he's in. You know what I mean? And so I just feel like that's big, man. Like everybody has their own skill set and own expertise in the family. You know what I mean? My mom was a teacher. My mom taught language arts and math, and my dad was a pastor. So it was only right that I got into that.
You didn't have a choice, honestly.
Yeah, but it was already written.
It was already over.
Yeah, man.
I don't know if you have any closing remarks or things you want to
lasting words to the audience,
or even to your community.
What can we actually find you? You gotta.
Yeah, man.
Have all your links and stuff.
Yeah. I'm gonna send y'all some links and the details, but I would say also, in terms of just investing, or even starting up and being an entrepreneur, don't listen to people who are not trying to be at the same level you are. You know what I mean? Like your surroundings and maybe where you are right now is because of your surroundings. You know, if you surround yourself by people who think and talk like you, then they're gonna just build you up. You know what I mean? But like if they wanna see you do better, they're gonna wanna encourage you to do certain things that they know you can do, that they know is your passion. Like, you know, I was always told, even by my pop, like my conversation, my life will change when my conversations change. You know what I mean? The things I talk about every day, the people I'm around, like if I'm here in the hood, man, but you know, they talk about investing too. People in the hood invest.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Looking at them.
Yeah, it's like our whole like fire behind Family Field Hustlers to just create more investors in the black community.
But you know, I think it's the outward appearance people see that, like they would see me and say, "Oh, bro, you a day trader?" You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't notice that. You know.
Right.
But I think the moment you break the ice and start that conversation, for anybody listening, you know, don't be afraid to network. Don't be afraid to talk to people. You know, you never know that deal you could have closed had you have continued that conversation. You know
just have an open mind, really.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? Because like you never know who you're gonna come across, and then also be mindful of false prophets.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because
Yes,
like anybody who promises you stuff and promises a return or promises something for a gain, challenge them on it. You know what I mean? Don't just say, okay, cool, how much? You know, although you could, but you gotta know what you're willing to put up and risk.
Right.
So I would say anybody out there who's really trying to learn about investing, like literally learn it. You know, don't just do it, but also try to do all you can to be well informed into doing it. And there's various ways you can do that. But I would say even if you want to start a business, learn all you can about how to start that business. You know, like what's your market look like there? You know, like you know, different things like that, man. I feel like are the biggest steps. But the biggest thing you can do is just do it. You know, and just take that step.
All right.
A lot of people plan, but don't just do. You know what I mean? Like planning is great, but the moment you actually start to put work into it, like it's a better feeling.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I say for people who want to trade, the biggest question I do get to is, how much should I start with? I'm gonna start with a stack, bro.
Yeah.
I say cool, but just know what you're getting into with that stack.
Right.
Because
that's your last stack. That might be your last.
Right. And so I say you
you
can leverage big or you can leverage small. You can win big or you can lose big. You know what I mean? And so you'll feel a lot more accomplished building 3-figure to 4-figure rather than starting with 4-figure, not quite knowing what you're doing, and you know the risk of blowing it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's the biggest thing to do, man. But I appreciate y'all for just taking out the time to be here.
Bro, I appreciate you taking time out your Sunday, man, to chat with
Like I
us.
said, long overdue.
Show us the compound, man.
Yeah,
Easy,
man. You know, and that's the thing, man. And the most dope thing, bro, is just black owned. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
And so, and people who come into it, we want to let them know it's black owned and operated, man. Because anybody you can imagine who want to do all they can to get their hands on it, but they know not. Yeah, we got this on lock, man. We just got to continue to build and continue to grow from here, you know?
Absolutely, man. Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you, bro.
Yes,
Appreciate you, man.
sir. My dog.
Yeah, man.
Go out like a buster, come from a family full of hustlers. I can't go out like a buster, come from a family full of hustlers. I did this song for my brother.